Hello everybody, welcome back to the shop for this exciting episode of Bob TV. Okay guys, let's get this bad boy glued together. I got some thin CA. I got some zip kicker, which makes that CA set up quick. Some sandpaper, seaming tape, epoxy brush, or scissors. First, we gotta line this bad boy up and get it perfect. I sanded them both these pieces again on the belt sander, you know, without it running. You don't want to over sand. One little whoops when that thing's running and the piece is toast. Right there. One little drop of CA. Tack glue it in place. So we want epoxy in that seam wherever we can. We want to fuse these pieces together is what we really want to do. So there can't be no gap. A little gap is bad. Even a little gap is bad. And we want them pieces to fit exactly. Just perfectly touching each other. These things, the pressure on your tank is when you're filling it up with fuel. Yeah, you know, especially when you got more than one tank, you're pumping from one to the other. That's why I always use this great big brass tubing. I drill all them clunk holes out and put as big a tubing as I can get on them, and then use that extra jumbo large fuel line, especially with the P200s. I don't want no restriction. Because the first tank I made, oh, it wasn't my first one, it was my second one in my F18. It had 3 tanks in it, and the one I made was first. And see, I just wrapped it with glass, and I had a problem on these. I had a leak on one of these corners. You see, I just wrapped a plug of styrofoam and then, you know, poured lacquer thinner in it. Then cut it in half, cleaned it all out, put it back together. But all I had to do was put some more glass on the side, on the corners, and fixed it. But it wasn't as pretty as this tank. And this looks like a professional tank right here. And it's glass, but you know it would hold up. Ain't nothing gonna survive a crash. You know, Kevlar, fiberglass, it don't matter. You hit the ground doing 150 and them tanks are coming apart. You know, that's just kind of how that is. I don't care what you make it out of. You ain't gonna make an indestructible tank. If you do, it's too heavy. That's beautiful right there, baby. What I ended up putting in it I ended up putting another layer of 10 ounce. You know, I got to thinking I had some scrap pieces over there. You know, just one layer of 10 and one layer of 6. And man, it was flimsy, you know, and the other tank that's in it was not flimsy. So I put one more layer of 10. So I ended up 2 layers of 10 and 1 layer of 6. That brings me to a total of 26 ounces of glass. Which I think that right there would be a good tank. Bang. Okay, now rough up that edge a little bit. But I think I'm going to go ahead and lay up another one of these today, just so I have a set. There's 2, goes in a jet. Stack them on top of each other. I like that when you're carrying a bunch of fuel. Because if you just made one big old tank, it'd be all sloshy. You know, you'd get a lot of slosh in action. And I like the tank method. I don't like running T's. You know, I like to run one tank through the other one. I don't like T's because if your clump gets messed up, it could ruin your whole system. And once you start sucking air with a T, it goes to the freest line. So if you happen to drain one tank first, you know, it could shorten your flight time. I just don't like running T's. Never have. But when you don't run T's, it puts more stress on your tank when you're filling them up. Because once one tank gets full, it starts pushing it into the other tank, and you know, I've seen these things swell up, especially plastic tanks. If your fuel line's big enough, you won't have that issue. Bam! Ooh, I spilled my glue. Okay, now it's time for some resin. I should have grabbed some 1-inch brushes. I want that seam filled with resin. Don't want a void. That's why they gotta be sanded perfect. Perfecto. Then